Alrighty, folks, welcome into Compute This, After Schrock. Sorry, I went into automated mode there. Compute This, my name is... No, that's not what I say. I was giving a lot of thought to that because I do have an intro that I use every show when I start the show. And I say, welcome into Compute This. My name is Thor Schrock. I've got 4 locations. I do my whole thing. And it's become muscle memory, right? I can just do that. Well, now I'm a little worried because I'm going to be doing a 4-hour fill-in radio show on KFAB coming up here on the 11th of May. And I'm going to need to have some other kind of intro because it's not a 4-hour infomercial for Schrock, right? So it's this is like a separate thing. This is like Thor Schrock doing a show that's not about Schrock Innovations. So I can't use my same open, and it's going to be muscle memory. I'm going to sit in front of this microphone, and I'm going to say, my name is Thor Schrock. I'm the owner of Schrock Innovations. So, yeah, it looks like there might be an issue with the live video. So we will see what's going on here. Anyway, it appears to be running okay for me over here, so we're just going to keep going, and if it blows up, it blows up. Mitch says hello. Hello, Mitch. I don't know. Can you guys not hear me? All right. So we'll keep going and we'll see what happens. So basically, on May 11th, basically they got a 4-hour hole in the afternoon on KFAB. I'm sure that there we go. All of a sudden, all the comments popped up. I'm sure that you've heard about the situation with Chris Baker and everything else that happened in KFAB. I'm not going to say too much about it. Just what can you say, right? So anyway, he had me on the show several times on his show. That man gave me a lot of opportunity to be on his air, and I've thoroughly enjoyed being a guest on his program and appreciated the opportunities that he gave me to be a guest on his program. The situation that he found himself in, he realized he had made a mistake the moment he did it. He immediately, within 15 minutes, tried to correct it, but it was too late. He could have corrected. Everyone's like, well, you let it sit for 15 minutes. He could have let it sit for 8 seconds, and it would have been just the same story. It didn't matter. KFA or iHeart corporate, they had to react the way that they did. Didn't matter. Local station had no control over the situation whatsoever. Didn't matter. It's just like, it is what it is, right? So moving forward, they're obviously, they're auditioning hosts for that slot. While I had a lot of mixed feelings about this, and it made me sad to think about it this way. But as soon as you become a radio host on a radio station that's considered to be a conservative radio station, you become a target. And fair or not, you become a target. And in the current environment we have, is it safe for me to become a target when and you might say, well, Thor, you have a show on that station now, so how are you not a target now? Well, I'm an advertiser on the station now that has a show. This 4-hour slot is a drive time slot. This is the number 2 most popular time to be on a radio station, the most popular being drive time in the morning. This is afternoon drive, KFAB. Number 1 station in Nebraska at the number 2 time slot during the day. And they're going to let me have that microphone for 4 hours. I don't know what Scott's thinking, but I got to try to not get in trouble. And it's like, they're looking, this is kind of an audition for other guys. For me, I'm not so sure it's going to be an audition. I'm just filling a slot because, you know what? It'll be fun to do. I want to put it on my resume that says, hey, I did that. And there was an opportunity to do it, and I'm going to take that opportunity. They're not even paying me, right? They're not even they're giving me free airtime, I guess. So if I mention something about Schrock, maybe I'll work it into the show. But I was like, I understand this is not a 4-hour infomercial for Schrock. However, how do you want me to handle that? And Scott was like, just be you. Just be you. You'll be fine. I'm like, okay then. My wife is like, the lovely Kimberly is like, please, for everything that's holy, don't be you. You're going to get You're going to get canceled so fast it's not even funny. You're going to destroy the business. You need to stop. You do it one time and you have the most milquetoast show you've ever had in your life. And I'm like, I wonder how I can get the governor on. You know, it'd be interesting to know, does he want to run for Ben Sass's Senate seat later? You know, Governor Ricketts really wanted to be a senator for a while. You know, he might have an opportunity to conservative governor that shepherded a state through a pandemic, and, you know, he might have some traction to run against someone like a Ben Sass and primary him. Is he interested in anything like that? Who are these other people? Who are these people running for governor, right? I'm seeing signs now. I need to start paying attention to this stuff, right? If I'm going to have a radio show on the middle of the afternoon, I got to know who's running and should I get them on the air? So I guess I want to know from you guys. I don't think a Compute This style program would work for 4 hours. Rush Limbaugh had 3 hours, right? This is 4 hours. That's a lot of radio time. And yes, there's going to be interruptions for news and interruptions for traffic and things like that throughout the show. So let's call it 3.5 total hours. We take out news at the top and the bottom there. Let's call it 3 full hours of broadcast time. What should I talk about? You know, I noticed that there's no calls coming in right now on that drive slot. Josh is doing the show. He's doing a great job. I'm like, you know, I asked Scott, I'm like, I don't know, do you normally get calls during that time slot, or is it normally quiet? And Scott said, well, you know, right now everybody's calling asking where Chris is at. And, you know, I get it, but the people in this building had no input in that decision whatsoever. Everybody can be as mad about it as they want, but there isn't a darn thing anyone in this building could have done about it. Not a thing. So, you know, do we just don't take calls? And I'm like, well, I want to take calls, but hopefully by the 11th I can take calls and have people like, you guys are terrible. You know, I get it. Get it, buddy. But what do you want me to do about it? You know, so on the other hand, should I talk about other things like, you know, constitutional rights? What do you want me to do about it? You know, so I want to know what you guys want to hear about. 4 hours is a long time. I could definitely do some tech in there. I could definitely do some crypto in there. But you got to understand too, you got to try to do segments that don't make people's eyes bleed or ears bleed. You know, not everybody wants to hear about crypto. Not everybody wants to hear about technology. There are people who, you know, remember, you guys have listened to Rush Limbaugh, I'm sure, at some point. Do you remember when Rush Limbaugh would talk about his golf outings? And people would call his program, his listeners would call his program and say, you need to stop talking about your stupid golf outings and get on to the topics of the day. And that was Rush Limbaugh, right? What should I talk about? So let's see what you guys think. What should I talk about? Let's see. I'm going to read some comments here. Did you watch the TikTok of the cop in Idaho? I sure did. Yeah, I watched that. I thought it was a pretty milquetoast TikTok video. You know, it wasn't disrespectful. It illustrated perfectly, though, the hypocrisy of everything. And this is something that kind of eats at me, is that people have the ability to reason. The biggest thing that you can teach a kid to do, you can put them through school. You can teach them to read and write and all that stuff, and then you can start to teach them all the Pythagorean. Do you remember the Pythagorean theorem? I'm not sure. 1/2 base times height? I don't know. Is that what that is? No, I don't know. So you can go through and you can teach kids all this stuff, and they're going to use that much of the pie in school or in life that they learned in school. But you teach a kid how to think, and you teach a kid that when you get passionate about something, when there's something that you are genuinely curious or interested about, you can just go get the information. The knowledge is out there. Be passionate about learning, right? Teach a kid that, they can do anything, anytime, for the rest of their lives. But you just heard in the news break that the Biden administration wants to throw an epic tax increase out, and they're insisting it's only going to hit rich people, which is never true. You can prove that. It is never true that tax increases only hit rich people. Even if a millionaire's tax would still hit the people Because if the millionaire has less money, now people like Bill Gates say, well, raise my taxes, I don't care. That's because Bill Gates has more money than God. He has more money than Scrooge McDuck had in that giant vault. He could dive in it and he could swim all day long and he would not hit the other end of his money. But people who make $400,000 a year, like, that's what some houses in Omaha are worth, right? Are you rich if you have $400,000 in a year in a family of 5? I'm not making $400,000 a year, so my taxes aren't going to go up, right? But they are. That's the thing. They are. Because all the small business exemptions that are going to get removed. Because businesses need to pay their fair share, you see. But the business is taxed at an individual level at the end of the day. So if you make the business pay their fair share, I'm paying double my fair share. How is that a fair share? And how are the people who are not paying anything in at all and getting an earned income tax credit back paying their fair share? So from a logic perspective, you can see that the system is broken. So we could talk about that. But from a logic perspective, you can see that the policing system is broken. You can see this cop in Idaho just illustrated it brilliantly. So it doesn't matter if you have one black man stabbing another black man. Nobody cares. That happens every day. It's like rain. Whatever, it's raining today. It's in the news, but no one really cares. But the second that a person is white and the assault and the victim is a black person, then it becomes important. Then we should say that name at that point. And then you put the police officer in that situation. So now the police officer is having to decide, do I stop one black man from killing another black man? Or do I stop, and I have to stop this person with deadly force. So do I shoot one black person to save another black person? Or do I just let the assault go on and the victim die? So that's basically what the video was saying. The police department is in this hyper woke environment. They responded with a suspension. I'm surprised that GoFundMe has actually allowed that GoFundMe to go forward in this woke environment. I'm sure they're getting pressure about this. But the dude has raised tons of money. He's donating a lot of it to a charity now because, he's getting suspended without pay basically while they investigate his TikTok video because he pretty clearly violated procedure. You can't shoot unauthorized videos in uniform. You can't do that. Can't do that. He did that. Doesn't matter what the video was about. So, from a logic perspective, he violated the policy of the department. That is why he is suspended without pay. Half of the country liked the message that he had to say. That is why there's a GoFundMe. The other half of the country doesn't like his message and wants to see him fired. So there you go. That's the whole story in a nutshell. So logic, from everyone's point of view, logic makes sense, but the problem that you have is there's no bedrock anymore. There is no fundamental truth remaining. We can't even this is what's going to get me in trouble. But are you a boy or a girl? We can't even. How many genders are there? Like, those are actually questions you have to ask now. How many pronouns are there? Those are questions you actually have to ask. And because we don't have a bedrock that everyone's operating from with an accepted result of that, you should be able to go out and live your life and not worry about getting stabbed. And it doesn't matter what color your skin is. You should be able to go out and live your life and not be worried about a mob showing up on your lawn with megaphones and drums and everything else and trampling your flowers and, threatening to burn down a home that you spent, 30 years of your life renovating. I'm talking about the couple in Missouri. Now, yeah, that lady, someone needs to take her to handgun training school, but, you don't, number one, you don't carry a broken weapon, number one. Number two, you don't carry an unloaded weapon as if it's loaded, just asking for trouble. Number three, you don't point it at your husband while you're gesturing. Basic stuff here. So yeah, there's all kinds of things we can logically agree on to disagree on, but where is the common bedrock that we operate from. So we have two pieces of common bedrock now. We have bedrock for the right wing, that people on the right agree this is the bedrock that we operate from. And then on the left, there's bedrock over here that we operate from. And the two bedrocks are completely different and incompatible. So how can you have logic when the outcomes, when you don't agree on the outcome? And that's the problem that we find ourselves in right now. That's why this police video was so impactful. Half the country loved it, half the country hated it. And that's basically what's happening. All right, good morning. Looks super grainy on video, but you can hear me. Yeah, I'm not sure. It says, Facebook says it's having trouble running the video. It thinks it's still running to compute this video. It says I've been on for an hour and 16 minutes. Something's really wonky going on. All right. Karen's back. Good morning, Karen. Winston, good to have you back. Mary, Top Fan Mary, good to have you. Good morning, Alan. Video was buffering, but is good now. I like Baker. A lot of people like Chris Baker. Chris Baker's not an evil dude. He's really not. I know the guy. He's not an evil dude. But yeah, he made a big mistake. And yeah, Aaron, one of the things about, I have a ton of respect for what Josh is doing right now. Producer Josh is trying to step into the shoes of a guy who did 4 hours of radio every day of the week and built an entire listener base around that. And he has to step into that role knowing that it's not going to be a long-term deal. He's not going to be on forever. That he will eventually probably go back to his original role where he's more comfortable, I would think. I don't know. Maybe he wants the job. I don't know. But what do you talk about the day after that happens? I agree. Hearing about the Oscars wasn't exactly super exciting for me. Because, I was on Josh's show. So I let him know. I said, Josh, this is, terrible, man. If you need someone to fill in a segment or something, I can talk about digital privacy. Just, if you need something, let me know. And so he said, sure, come on out on Monday. So I listened to the show. I always like to listen to a show before I appear on it, what they're talking about that day, so that I can kind of weave myself into the fabric of that show so that I'm a good guest, right? They're talking about the Oscars, right? And the co-host that's working with Josh is literally making fun of my name before I even come on the air. Don't worry about it. It's been my whole life. Whatever. You got to learn to laugh at yourself a little bit. Okay, he said I should be a blacksmith. I don't know. Thor is not a blacksmith. He has a hammer, but he doesn't beat metal with it, right? Just helmets and things. Okay, so I get on the air, and he's like, okay, I got to ask. And I know where it's coming. I was thinking about the answer like for a half an hour before he asked it. How did you get your name? And I'm like, well, let me tell you a story. I get this a lot, but it's a little complicated, and I have to be a little careful how I tell it for obvious reasons. But basically, I was doing a technology demonstration for a government agency in the desert. And it was a weapons system, and some things went sideways. And long story short, I found myself in a cave surrounded by some bad dudes. And I had to, using scraps of what I had available to me in that cave, build myself a mechanism for escaping that situation. And that's basically how I got started. And then after that, the rest is history. And literally they were stunned. They just sat there and like, what is he talking about? And I'm like, they don't get it. Like, they're talking about movies. They don't get it. I'm like, it also happens to be the plot from Iron Man, but that's just coincidence. The Tony Stark thing, just coincidence. Oh, okay, we get it now. Thor, Tony Stark, Marvel. Oh, yeah, got a technology guy. Okay, it's all coming together now. Woo! I was like, dang, it kills it when you got to explain it to him, But I try to be a good guest on the show. But what Josh is doing, you guys, it's incredibly hard. Cut the guy some slack, for real. It wasn't his choice. There's literally no one else to sit in that chair. There's no one else in the building to sit in that chair right now. So, I agree that hearing about the Oscars wasn't the most exciting thing I had in my day. But so I'm going to come on for one afternoon, guys. I have no designs on that chair. I don't want the chair. I don't want to do 4 hours of radio a day and then an hour on the weekends, 2 hours on the weekends. I don't want to do 6 days a week radio. I may as well get a job in radio at that point. There's no money in radio. I don't want a career in radio. Maybe when I retire and I'm looking for something to do, I would be in radio. But I like communicating with people, right? I enjoy that. But I also have a real job where I have to go take care of my customers to earn money to pay taxes. So, yeah, I got to go through all that. But I'm going to sit in that chair on the 11th, and I'm going to do 4 hours because it'll be fun. But I also know that I am temporary, just like Josh knows he's temporary, that the next day I won't be back, and that some people are going to find me boring because I am not as talented as Chris was. And I know that. But I still want to have a fun show, and I still want to make people listen. I still want to get people excited about it. I still want to make sure that the advertisers who are advertising during the show are getting their money's worth so that they get a return on their investment. So therefore, they continue to advertise on the station so the station can afford to hire someone to replace him that is really good. Right? So that's how the world goes around, right? But people don't understand that anymore. They think everything is free and everything should be, whatever. And I don't know what to do with that. Same Steve who called about backup hard drives brought my laptop into the Burke for maintenance. Kudos to the techs who found out why the drive advisor didn't work. Hey, no problem, Steve. Thor, I won't do the broadcast. I would stay with the Sunday show, just me. Well, I'm just doing one. It's a one day. They could offer it to me. They can't afford me. Baker was awesome. Quit listening. Don't like the Josh dude. Well, the Josh dude was always there with Baker. That's what nobody realizes, is that, there is no one to screen his calls. So he'd be taking cold calls live on the air, which is never a good idea. You get some wackadoos. You get some angry people. You get people who are going to complain about the obvious. So the safest bet is to just not take calls, and that's why there's no calls. And without the callers, and I say this during my show, the callers make the show. The people engaging with the host is what makes the show. That's what made Rush Limbaugh Rush Limbaugh. Yes, he could talk for 3 hours. Anybody in radio can talk for 3 hours. Yes, he had a plan, he had a show, he had a thread for each show that was woven throughout all the content of the program. In between the callers that called in. If you wanted to call in off topic, you didn't get to call in. The call screener wouldn't let you on the air if you were off topic. That's why they had the Friday deal, the Free Phone Friday thing, where you could call in and ask Rush anything you wanted. There was no topic. It was just free flowing, because that was the only time you could get in if you wanted something off topic. Let's see. I know I'm late to post this. Last weekend, a friend of mine had her computer die. This is from Omar. She took it into another computer shop, and they told her they couldn't even look at it until Monday. I recommended Schrock in West Des Moines, and she took it there. They looked at it immediately, diagnosed the problem, ordered a new motherboard. You even loaned her a computer so she could get some of her work done. Thank you for taking care of my friend. Hey, no problem, Omar. That's what we do. That is what we do. And I'm not kidding when I say 24 to 48 right now, guys. This is a slower time of year for computer repair, historically. Not as many people are traveling this year, which is ironic, I think, but I want to travel. But not as many people are traveling, and that's usually when school lets out and everybody goes on vacations. We see a drop in business because people aren't here. So we're expecting that to still come this coming month, so we're still at 24 to 48 hour turnaround time. News and tons of commercials. Chris Baker was only on 15 minutes per half hour. Oh, wow. 15 minutes per half. So he was on for 30 minutes out of an hour. Well, let me see. You got 6 minutes at the top for news, 2 minutes at the bottom. So let's call it 10 minutes is news. I mean, it is news radio, so you got to have some news in there. So you got 10 minutes. Now you're down to 50 minutes. You do have to have commercial breaks. The commercial breaks usually last, 2 minutes, 3 minutes a piece. If you have 5 of those, that's another 15 minutes because, you got to pay the guys for working here. So now you're at 25 minutes. So, yeah, I could see 30 minutes between news and commercials, honestly. Sounds about right. All right. No offense to Josh and his friend. Okay. They could just bring on Glenn Beck after the Rush Limbaugh show. They could do that. But, there's something about KFAB. I think they will lose if they bring on a syndicated host in the afternoon. They may end up having to do that, but having a live host that is local in the community, it adds a dimension to a radio station that you can't fake. And trust me, the industry has tried. A lot of people don't realize that your favorite FM station, the disc jockeys that you hear, introducing songs and things like that in between songs, they're not even here. Well, sometimes they are, but most of the time they're not, especially on smaller stations. They usually hire those people out of Colorado, and they do the voice work for like 40 different radio stations at different places in the country. So you're driving from city to city, and you hear the same voice, and you're like, wow, that's pretty crazy, because they're voicing two stations in two different cities. It's very common. Yes, lovely Kimberly, you were the one that taught me that. And but it's logical. It makes sense. She's talking about the educational philosophy. It makes sense. If you teach someone how to think and to love to learn, they're going to think and learn a lot. If you teach them that they should just do what they're told, and that learning is a chore like school, that's no fun, that's regimented, that's a bunch of garbage information you don't really care about, surprise, surprise, they don't want to learn anything. They don't want to go learn about that. No. Here's a great example. This week, a new crypto coin came out. It's called Chai, like green, like the green tea. Its letters are, I can't think of the word. Its ticker symbol, for lack of a better thing, is XCH. It is not traded yet. It will be traded starting tomorrow. No one knows what's going to happen with the price. I predict it's going to start out around $800 and it's going to belly flop down to like $1, probably. And then a bunch of people are going to abandon it. And then it's going to cause, this coin has been in production since 2017. The guy that created this coin is the inventor of the Thor network. If you're not familiar with the Thor network, when you hear someone talking about a BitTorrent or illegally downloading music and software, this is the guy that made the network that made that kind of file transfer possible. Like all technologies, he never intended it to be used for stealing intellectual property. He intended it to be used as a file transfer mechanism that was able to transfer files incredibly fast. For example, if you go to certain websites, the download computer drivers, they give you a direct download link and a Tor link. And the direct download link, you could be sitting there watching that thing for an hour. The Tor link will be done in 2 minutes because it's coming from so many different places at once to your computer. That's the guy that started this coin. Now, this is an interesting crypto coin. I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds on this one, but I'm going to give you the highlights. Bitcoin requires tons of energy because it's called proof of work. You have Bitcoin ASIC machines that are computing the answers to mathematical problems as fast as possible in a race to get the answer before the next guy does. Everybody competes against everybody else. The network gets fast, but it burns a ton of energy. Not very green, right? See a concept coming here? Not very green. So we have a new crypto coin that is called proof of space and time instead of proof of work. So in other words, think about this like farming. You create a plot. You put your crop on that plot. It takes time to sow that field. Say it takes 2, 3, 4 hours to sow that field. Then, once the field is sowed, you have to, apply your herbicides to it. You have to put your fertilizers in. You got to do all the things that farmers do that Thor has no idea what happens because I was born in the city in Nebraska. It's like a curse, okay? So you go through, and my dad made me garden my entire childhood, and to this day, I don't like gardening because I have to go get the pitchfork, turn the soil. Why am I doing this? I don't even like to eat tomatoes. I don't even like to eat onions. Why am I finding weird things coming up through the ground that shouldn't be here? Found a wagon wheel once in the backyard. I'm like, where did this come from? My dad said it came up from the earth. I'm like, wagon wheels come up from the earth? It's like when I was young and my mom said, don't leave food laying around, it'll draw roaches. And I thought, how does it draw a roach? I can't even do that. Like, stupid kid stuff, right? So anyway, you create this plot, and it takes about 8 hours on a really fast computer to do it, maybe closer to 10 hours on a normal computer to create a plot. Then that plot is saved on a big hard drive, and it's accessed very little. Okay, so we're talking about All this is done on hard drives. It's not with graphics cards. It's not necessarily with a huge processor load. It's all done on hard drives. Create the plot, and then you put the plot on your farm. And it sits on your farm forever. And this plot is just chock-loaded with solutions to math problems. And as math problems come through the network, your plot may have the answer to that math problem already saved in it. And if it does, congratulations, you've solved the problem, you get the coin. Okay, so proof of space, storage space, and time. The idea being anybody with a little extra storage space laying around in a hard drive or an old external hard drive not doing anything, they could farm Chai and possibly make money. We don't know what the coin's going to be worth. It's completely speculative at this point. But what's happening is so many people are getting into this so fast that people, first of all, you have to have a solid state, you have to have a very fast solid state hard drive in order to create the plot as quickly as possible. Because if it takes 8 hours versus 10 hours, if you're creating plots all day, every day, that's 2 extra hours that you get per plot, right? So you go through and you do all that. Then you have to store them somewhere. The more storage you have, the better. So now you have people buying big hard drives. So you have, on one side, they're buying the fast drives, and on the other side, they're buying the big, large capacity, clunky ones, 14 terabyte, 16 terabyte hard drives, because they're storing their farms on there. And that's where their farm is. They put all the plots on the farm, and that's where they sit while they just wait for a solution from the network. The more plots you have, the more chances you have to win the solution to a problem and get the coin. So I hope I explained that all well. It's leading to a huge shortage, not only in, everyone's talking about the solid state hard drive shortage, but it's also going to cause a high capacity storage problem as well. Anything 8 terabytes and greater is going to get really hard to find really soon. If this coin takes off, if it does not drop to $1 after its inception, after it starts trading, if it goes from 800 to $1 to 1200, oh boy, it's going to be bad. You're going to have people buying brand new Dell desktop computers just to harvest the hard drives from them. They'll sell the rest of the computer on eBay. They just want the hard drives. If you're buying a used hard drive from somewhere, I don't know why you would do that, but if you were going to do that, don't do that. Farming this coin roasts solid state hard drives. Absolutely trashes them. So the aftermarket, there's companies that actually specialize in buying used hard drives and reselling them to light users at a moderate price. They hate this coin because, yes, there's going to be a flood of hard drives hitting their market when this moves through the system, but they're all going to be trashed. They're going to be just decimated, and they're going to have to test them all. It's going to be awful. So anyway, that's your new crypto coin report. That's what's going on in the world of crypto. If you're interested in this, you can learn more about it. Let me make sure I get this right. The Chai Network, chia.net. It's like chia.pet, but it's chia.net. There you go. And you can learn all about the crypto coin. And if you want to start farming a plot on your hard drive, literally on any Schrock modular computer, you're geared up to do this. If you have one of our ventures, you have the perfect setup for this. You've got a fast solid state hard drive to create the plot, and you have a 2 terabyte storage drive to save your farm. Again, keep in mind, if you're going to farm this on your C drive, have a backup. It trashes hard drives. Have a backup and have Drive Advisor so that when your hard drive starts to fail, you get told about it. All right, let me wrap up some comments here. Let's see what we got going on. Yeah, they really do. They really need to get Bongino in here. I mean, that's an iHeart thing. They're trying to figure out. So basically, the EIB network, I always thought that was just Russia's thing, right? I thought that was his company. It sounds like it may be his company, but it wasn't entirely his company. I don't know how that worked. So iHeart has a contract with the EIB network. So I'm not sure that they can switch yet. I think they have to figure out how they're going to get out of the contract first. And there's no incentive for the EIB network to let them out easy when maybe who knows how many years of time they have left in the contract. People don't realize with the increased value of houses in the Omaha area, their taxes are automatically going up because property taxes are based on value. This is true, Ronald. Property taxes are going to go up, but that's okay because it's for the kids, right? Right. Listen to yourself. There's the program, daily events in light of conservative business, technology, crypto, but mostly what's going on and how do we proceed as conservative nation in Omaha, Nebraska. I hear you, Blake, and I can do that for 35 minutes. 4 hours. That's 4 hours of putting a great big target right here that has nothing to do with my business. That is just an opportunity for me to be canceled. Isn't that sad that I have to think that way? Isn't that sad that I have to sit back and say, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I don't want to be a host on the station in the afternoon because it's risky. I mean, look what happened to Chris. Yes, stupid mistake. There is zero margin for error. Who among us is not capable of making a stupid mistake? Not excusing it. I'm just saying. There's a reason that my early archives are not on the internet anymore of Compute This. My wife has prohibited me forever from doing any accents because I'm terrible at fake accents, right? Except now fake accents are incredibly racist. So the shows that I did years ago where we were making fun of, it was like that was the thing in like the early 2000s is all the tech support was in India. And didn't speak English right. You ask to speak someone who speaks English, and they get mad and hang up on you. And I was explaining to the audience that when you say that to someone in India, the caste system in India, there's people who speak English and there's people who don't. People who speak English are considered highly educated and will be among the wealthy of their society. People who don't speak English are considered gutter slum. So when you tell somebody who speaks English or thinks they speak English that you can't understand their English, you're calling them gutter slum. And that's why they're hanging up on you. So if you want to insult somebody from India, tell them that their English is terrible. You're basically telling them that they're trash. They're people trash. So of course you throw an accent in there with that way you're having that conversation because it's humorous, or you're trying to genuinely imitate how people sound to illustrate the fact that you can't understand them, and you're racist. See, it's that easy. Like that. Yeah. All right, Ronald says, first, I won't be a cop these days. Secondly, I would drive by certain calls. Ronald, that's something that's like, I don't understand. There was a member of our family just graduated as an Iowa State. He graduated the academy. He is an Iowa State trooper now. And the first thought in my head was, why would he do that? Why would he do that to himself? The second thought is he's really, really proud of that. He's proud of the uniform. He's proud of the job he's going to be doing. And yes, he's young and idealistic and everything else. But I think we need some of that, right? We need people to realize. We need people to understand. We need it to be their kid that gets canceled. We need it to be their kid that shoots the TikTok video. We need it to be Chris Baker's parents that see what's happening. And when people that's the thing about cancel culture. Eventually it comes for you. Everybody gets canceled eventually. So the only way you can, okay, let me tell you a story. When you take kids to scout camp, we had a group, we took the kids out to Mahoney to do the Go Ape Ropes course, and we camped and everything else. We have a new scout in our troop. I won't give you his name, but he's a young kid. And crawling around on the ground, there was about a 2.5 foot long gardener snake. Not a dangerous snake, right? So one of the scout leaders grabs it behind the head and picks it up, like, hey, look, guys, it's a snake, And this kid was so enamored. He was like, can I hold it? And he's like, okay, yes, but you got to make sure you grab it behind the head. Scouting is an environment where children can fail safely, okay? So the adult leader knows this is a gardener snake. It is not a poisonous snake. It is not going to cause any kind of deep flesh wounds if it bites you. It's going to hurt, but it's not going to be a life-altering experience. Okay? This is a safe opportunity for a child to pick up and hold a snake in nature. Who hasn't done that, right? So the kid takes the snake and he's holding it like he's supposed to. He's got it. He's got a good grip behind the head, and he is so proud of himself for doing this. This kid was a Weebelo a year ago, and for those of you who don't know scouting, I mean, the kid is like 10 years old. He's still he's right on that cusp of being a child's child, and being a preteen, and he's building his self-awareness, his self-efficacy, his personality, and his core values of who he's going to be as a man going forward in life. And he's holding the snake by the head. And he's so excited that he decides he's going to run over to the other scouts who are clear on the other side of Mahoney and show them the snake. I wasn't the leader, but we have a very capable leader. The alarm bell started going off. Why don't we not do that? Let's not go take the snake across there. And the kid's like, oh yeah? And he relaxes his grip a little bit. That snake sensed its moment, turned around, whack. And the kid dropped the snake, except the snake was still hanging off of his hand. And so then the kid, shakes his hand, and the snake goes flying off his hand. Kid got bit by a snake, 2 little holes, no big deal, hardly even bled. Scared the heck out of him, and he learned a valuable lesson in that failure. If you're going to grab a snake by the head, you hold on tight. If you're going to operate in a cancel culture environment, if you're a Dan Bongino, and you're on Fox with Geraldo, and the cancel culture starts drifting around the room a little bit, you got to grab it by the head, and you have to hold on tight, and you can't relax your grip for anything, or you're going to get bit. The problem is having a grip all the time comes at a price. While you're holding that snake by the back of the head, your right hand is occupied. So everything that I do at Schrock, if I were to take on a daily radio show, I'm holding that snake by the right hand all the time. And I'm losing opportunity. I might be letting customers down because my full attention isn't over on the business where it needs to be. Or I might be letting listeners down because my full attention isn't on the radio where it needs to be. So, but I can hold that head for a day. One day. I can hold it for a day just so I can say I did it. Because how many times in your life do you get an opportunity to do something like that? Talk about crypto, COVID, the economy, and how the current changes in Washington will affect the normal person. I thought about this because I've been watching and reading a lot of prohibited information on COVID vaccinations. What they're doing inside your body, how this impacts people and will impact you for the rest of your life. Yesterday, some 15-year-old kid died of a heart attack 2 days after getting a COVID injection. No pre-existings, no problems. Literally, I love it when they say a perfectly healthy 54-year-old former Husker player, and you're like, okay, he was a Husker lineman. So first of all, the guy weighs like 400 pounds. How is that perfectly healthy? Number two, he had COPD. How is that perfectly healthy? And yeah, he got COVID and he was on oxygen and had a hard time of it, and really is telling people to take it seriously. If you're 400 pounds, former Husker lineman with COPD, yeah, take COVID real seriously. For real. I'm not joking. For real. If you're a 15-year-old kid in perfect health who has a 99.997% chance of recovering fully from COVID without any hospitalization, why on this green earth are you getting vaccinated? There are boys in our scout troop that are very proud that they're getting vaccinated. That was so hard for me. I have strong feelings about this. Now, you say you want me to talk about COVID. Maybe I should find out where the lines are at first so I don't get canceled on my first day. Because iHeart's running PSAs about how you should get vaccinated. Am I allowed to deviate from that? I mean, what are they going to do, fire me? I'm just here for a day. I won't even make it to hour 3. Scott will be like, Thor, thanks, buddy. You sound kind of tired. Let me take over for you. No, for real, get out. Oh, let's see. Only opinions that matter are his command and local taxpayers. Okay, John. Watch out for when Washington does their own crypto and forces you to have a federal bank account. Just warning you. Here's an interesting thing. A lot of people don't know this about the digital yuan. They can program the cryptocurrency with an expiration date, either predetermined or remotely enabled. So let's say that you are Jack Ma. You're the richest guy in China. You have all this money, all these assets, everything valued in yuan. And you step wrong. They can literally turn off your money like it never even happened. It's uber flippin' scary that they can turn off your money like that. They can also set an expiration date on the money so that it forces you to spend it by a certain date or it expires. So you want stimulus in your economy, we're going to give everybody a stimulus check, but you can't save it. You must spend it by this date or you lose it. And because we have full control over the currency, we can tell you where you're going to spend it. You can't put it into property, you can't put it into stocks or bonds or investment vehicles or crypto. We want you to take it to a store and spend it. Go buy dinner, go out and eat, do whatever. That's the purpose. That's what we want. It's complete top-down state control. This is... Sometimes I wonder, children can be naive. They think the world is black and white. With us, against us. Good guys, bad guys. And to me, whenever I look at the news, whenever I look at the internet, whenever I look at anything, the world looks gray. Are we the bad guys? I mean, it's possible to be the bad guy, but is it possible to be the bad guy and not know you're the bad guy? Are we the good guys? Are we a fundamentally racist nation? Or are we a nation that's made incredible progress in the fight against racism to the point where it's a minor part of our culture being magnified under the world's largest magnifying glass? My operations director at Schrock is a black guy. I never even think about it. I never doubt his ability. I never think less of anything he says. He does his job, and he does it damn good. He keeps my customers happy. He keeps my shops running. He allows me to put my head down at night and take a breath, knowing that when I open my eyes in the morning, my company will still be fine. I can actually go on a trip with my family now and put my phone down for a few minutes because I've got that guy. Isn't that how the world is supposed to work? Content of the character, all that? Logic again, right? So the crypto money, there's a huge opportunity here if the U.S. does this right. You're right. Eventually there's going to be, we have a crypto dollar now, guys. The U.S. dollar is a digital currency right now. You have some paper in your wallet maybe, but 96% of all the money in circulation is digital. There's not paper representing every dollar in circulation. So, or coin or whatever else. So making the jump to a digital currency, you're already using credit cards, you're already using debit cards, you already log into your online bank account. There was a national coin shortage during COVID, remember? What if there had been a national bill shortage? The economy would have marched on without cash. We have a digital currency now. Now the trick is, as it always is in every endeavor, is differentiation. How do we do something in a different way than everybody else is doing it and do it better? Do it smarter. Do it more efficiently. Make people happier with the results. If you took the US dollar and you made it into a cryptocurrency based on freedom, and you compare and contrast that with what China has with the digital yuan, and you will see China for exactly what it is. Now, the problem that we have is the use of soft power. People aren't afraid anymore that if they do something that's going to harm the United States national interests, that we are going to whack them on the head with a giant stick. I'm not a warmonger. I wasn't really in a cave building weapons like Tony Stark, but soft power has a cost too. We have sanctioned the hell out of Russia, out of Iran, out of how many other countries? And when we sanction them, what that means is we're banning them from the SWIFT network. They can't move money internationally. Because basically, if you do a dollar transaction, it goes through the SWIFT network based in the US. So we cut you off from the SWIFT network. You can't send money anymore. There's no competitor for it. There never has had to be one because it was so reliable. But now it's getting to be kind of iffy because so many people have sanctions on them that businesses who want to do business with a company in Iran that has nothing to do with the government of Iran can't do business in Iran. And why can't they do business in Iran? Because we want maximum pressure on the citizens because the government won't take care of the citizens. So if we prevent the private sector from taking care of the citizens, maybe they'll just revolt against their leadership, and that pressure, that threat of revolution will cause the leadership to change their ways. That's what we're hoping for through soft power. It ain't working. It's a tool in the toolbox, and like any other tool, see this Band-Aid on my thumb? This knife right here is intended to cut things like this. It is not intended to be stuck up in a zip tie, held like this, and twisted really hard to snap a zip tie that went snap. And I ended up flaying my thumb. I got a 1/4 inch cut at a 45-degree angle into my thumb. Why did I get cut? Of course I was not happy about getting cut. Why did I get cut? I got cut because I was using my knife like an idiot. I was using the wrong tool for the job because I was too lazy to get out from under the desk where I was on my back to get the right tool, a pair of snips, to snip the zip ties that I needed to undo. Because I was too lazy to do it right, I got cut. Same thing happening right now. Soft power. Too lazy to do it right. Sometimes you got to whack someone with a stick. And if it ain't whacking someone with a stick over, mind your own business. Now, is Iran having a nuclear bomb worth wrapping them with a stick? I don't want to invade Iran. We saw how that went with Iraq, right? I don't want to invade Iran. And of course, whenever you wage war on a people, on a country, it inspires patriotism. So you have the counter arguments here. So what can you do? What could you do? Well, why don't we blockade Iran? Literally blockade them. Nothing in, nothing out. And I mean nothing. Cuban Missile Crisis, nothing. That would be a good stopgap. It's provocative. More provocative than a sanction. Less provocative than an airstrike. But I don't know. It's not working. All right. I would like to know where Chris ends up so I can follow him there. Ronald, he has his own podcast. If you do a search, you'll find it. In fact, if you look for Chris Baker on Facebook, you'll find him on Facebook. And he does a podcast. I'm not sure if he's doing it daily or not, but he does have a podcast. You know, that's the funny thing. Omer says he'd probably have a podcast. The left will never forgive him. That's the thing. You know, there is redemption from this. You know, there are other markets. There are other radio stations. Talent is something that is in very short supply. And that's, you guys, you know, they're asking me to fill in for 4 hours in the afternoon. Does that not tell you that talent is in short supply? I mean, they're asking me to come do a show. Chris will find a place to land. He's been in the Kansas City market. He's been in the Omaha market. He'll do just fine. But right now, he's smart to do the podcast, to stay relevant, to keep his skills sharp, and to keep a listener base to follow him. Because now, radio isn't geographic anymore. I mean, we're proving that with our radio show, just on our weekend radio show. We have people from across the country listening to us. Some of them are transplants. Some of them found us by accident. But however they got in here, they're part of the Compute This family now. You see them when they're at the start of the show. Hello from here, hello from there. Hello from Arizona, hello from Texas, hello from Montana. South Dakota reporting in. It's radio isn't terrestrial driven anymore. Not entirely. There's a role for that in local radio, but you can't overlook the national component of that. That's how you build a Dan Bongino over time. So he's smart to keep doing the podcast. Oh, let's see. Josh was good with Baker. And that's the thing, guys. You've got Josh can't do anything that Chris Baker did, right? If he does anything, if he has Moonbat, if he does anything like that, now he's stealing Chris's stuff, right? If he comes up with his own, he doesn't have enough time to come up with his own stuff, because what's the point? He's going to be in the producer chair. He's producer Josh. He produces the show. He lines up the guests. He screens the calls. He makes the show run seamlessly so that the host can host the show and not have to worry about all the other stuff. So you've taken him out of a position where he is extremely good at what he does and put him in another position where he's capable, but he can't do the things he used to do, that the show used to do, and he doesn't have time to do new things. So literally, he's got to wing it. That's why I said, I hear you guys, but cut the kid some slack. He's a good guy. Whenever Schrock has needed anything produced or done, or over here at KFAB, I don't have to ask twice. Josh is always offering. He's always there. He's a really, really good guy. And I know he can be a great guy. It doesn't necessarily mean you want to listen to the radio show. I know there's a lot of sharp feelings still around the Chris Baker situation, I'll say it. I can't do anything about that. I'm just filling in for a day. Josh can't do anything about that. He's just filling in for a week or two. They're going to have I think they're going to have a parade of guest hosts coming through. So I know you guys aren't listening right now because, it's kind of a protest thing. You're not listening. And I hear that. You're not listening, and I hear that. Sounds kind of stupid. But you're not listening to the station because you're upset, and I understand what you're saying. But they're going to have a parade of guest hosts that come through here, and each one is going to have a different flavor. And all I know is I think the decision on who they put on that, the decision to remove Chris was not a local decision. The decision of who will replace Chris may be a local decision. So you guys are the ones who get to determine who replaces him. And if you're not there to weigh in, you may end up with somebody you don't like. So while I understand, I'm not saying you have to tune in for 4 hours a day and you kind of feel like you're betraying a friend, basically. I get that. But KFAB has a more important role to play. Look forward. We sit here at the 2020 election. How many people sat here and said, were disillusioned, didn't know what to do? If they can steal this from us, they can do anything, right? And the message that I brought was focus on your local stuff because you can control what's local. Focus on what you can control. Let God take care of the rest. Whoever God is, let God take care of the rest. Focus on what you can control. You can control your school board. You can control your state legislature. You can control your city council, your mayor, your governor, your state senators, your state representatives, and you can control who goes on KFAB's afternoon airwaves. Because that's the person that's going to be carrying the message that you want to hear during an election. That's the person who's going to be talking about whether or not President Trump runs for president again. Do you really want some wackadoo there? Or do you want somebody who's going to be solid? And the best way to vet somebody that's going to be solid is for you to listen to them and then let management at KFAB know what you think. Let Scott know, let Gary know what you thought of those people. That's the best way to do it. Because those are the guys that are going to make the decisions about who gets that slot. Those are the guys that have to come in and work with that guy every day or that girl every day. If you know somebody who would be good at this, let Scott know. If you want to do it, let Scott know. You know, like I said, they're going to be bringing a bunch of people through. I got the feeling that's kind of an audition, but I'm not so sure I want to be in the play, if you know what I mean. But the people in this building have been good friends to me. They have been reliable partners to my business, and they've done everything I've ever asked them to do. So if I can help out with 4 hours of my time and try to put together something that's entertaining for people who might still be listening, maybe, at least listen on the 11th, okay? Because I'm going to need some calls, guys. I'm nervous. 4 hours is a long time to go. You saw I got all these calls at the end of the show. And I asked Delaney, the producer, is this normal? Like, is that normal radio? Like, do people always, is it the end of the hour when people always call, or is it like the end of the show? She goes, it's always the end of the show. Always. And I'm like, oh, great. So don't wait till the end of the show to call, please. Help me. I just updated my Surface 3 tablet. I'm shocked I didn't crash it. I'm an Apple fangirl. Well, good job. You got your Surface updated. So everything worked like it's supposed to work. And it's kind of sad that you're shocked that it worked like it's supposed to work, but I understand where you're coming from. All right, let's see. Maybe talk about your dad's fall and trying to design the Allen band. That would currently help track that, and what currently would help track the elderly loved ones. Hands down, Winston, the best option out there right now is the Apple Watch. That's a good topic segment, though. I'll keep that in mind. Buy one for $1 if it goes that low and wait and see what happens. Yeah, exactly. Don't buy a bunch of hard drives. If the coin goes down low to $1, buy it then if you're going to buy it. So they're throwing new coin against the wall, seeing what sticks. Yes and no, Aaron. So basically the idea here is you have two cryptocurrencies that are going to be the top cryptocurrencies in the world. There's Bitcoin and there's Ethereum. Bitcoin is a first move. They have first mover status. In other words, it was the first one. It is robust. It has been tested. It is mature from a cryptocurrency perspective, and it has a base value already assigned to it by the community. So it's not going anywhere. Ethereum was an up-and-comer that beat out all the other little ones like Remember Litecoin? Litecoin was in there. Oh, Litecoin's the future. You know, all the Dogecoin. What a joke. All these other coins. So they made Dogecoin. Now you can buy NBA tickets with Dogecoin. The thing that made Ethereum valuable, Ethereum is actually, percentage-wise, you've made more money if you were in Ethereum than Bitcoin this year. I'm starting to buy some Ethereum just to have it because I didn't think it was going to have this kind of staying power, but it does. The reason it's valuable is because Ethereum is the fuel that powers a programming language. So you can build programs that users can interact with by spending their Ethereum. So if they're willing to spend their crypto on your program must be pretty good. You get some crypto, your program does well. It's an ecosystem for a programming language, which I know is a little more difficult to grasp. It's not a current. They don't aim to become a replacement for currency that you would buy and sell things with. That's what Bitcoin does. Ethereum is fuel to power software. And by accessing that Ethereum network, you can shortcut and save tons of money on development work. Chai coin is the same thing. Chai coin is the same thing. It has its own programming language, very much like Ethereum. This could be a legitimate competitor with Ethereum because it is green. So Ethereum, the whole thing they're trying to do, their proof of work as well right now, you have to mine your Ethereum, burning tons of energy. They want to take it to what's called proof of stake. So what proof of stake means is you have a whole bunch of Ethereum, you put that Ethereum on the block, and you say, I'm going to validate transactions now. And I get a little fee for validating each transaction. But if I make a mistake, I will fund that transaction from my own money. If your drawer comes up short, I'll make it good with this money in the pot right here that I've staked. So when that happens, Ethereum is going to become much more green. So that's the whole idea. It's going to stop burning so much energy. Maybe graphics card prices come back down again. Who knows? The reason that proof of stake is, or that proof of time and storage is so attractive, number one, it's very decentralized. There's only one pool right now in China. It's not even an authorized pool. So it's literally just if you have an old hard drive laying around, you can be part of this. It's decentralized, so it's very attractive. You can get in early, and if it does take off and you have 5 or 10 of these, if you would have, at one point I had 7 Ether. Yeah, now that'd have been worth what? Almost $20,000 if I would have held on to it instead of selling it back in the day. I thought I was doing good at $400 a coin, you know? Silly me. And with the Fed distorting things the way they are, this coin is backed by major venture capitalists. So this is where some of that, when you're seeing the Fed bubble pumping, this is where some of the money's going, into things like this. So the problem is if you can't beat them, you got to join them. So you can be philosophically against the Fed and everything it's doing, but if you don't play the game, you get left in the dust. So you buy a house, you buy assets, you build a business, you build a cryptocurrency. You do whatever you got to do to make sure that you are inflating along with the economy, because it's going to get stupid soon. It already is stupid, but whatever. So who is still listening to Rush? You know, I have to admit I haven't listened very much, you know, since he passed, honestly. I can't. Yeah, the reruns would be getting a little old. I've listened to Rush on WHO since 1988. However, as a high school teacher, I missed a lot of his first 2 hours. Love hearing him again to catch what I didn't hear. You know, very true. How about talking about the forces driving record prices in the collectible markets lately? Sports cards, coins, etc. It's all inflation. It's all the Fed. It's insane. It is absolutely insane what's going on in those markets right now. You're absolutely right. Sarcasm is becoming a lost art. I don't think it's lost. I think it's locked up, along with comedians, which Chris Baker was also a comedian. I don't know if you knew that or not. He has a long history as a stand-up comic, too. Again, something else that you can't really do anymore. Cancel culture is going to start canceling itself, like the French Revolution. They're going to start cutting off their own heads soon. Well, you know, I would never advocate violence. You have to be careful here. But from your lips to God's ears, because I'm getting tired of it. And I think a lot of people are too. I think that's what's going to kill this, is eventually people don't want to sit around and hear endlessly how much they suck. You know, if you're a person who is legitimately a good person at heart, you don't want to hear about what a racist you are. If you are somebody that has preconceived notions based on observable fact that happens to go counter to something that is, you know, a prohibited belief or whatever, you don't want to be told that you're stupid. But I can see what's going on around me. Look at this. Look at the number of black people killing other black people because the police are not there anymore. How is this helping? This is not helping. This is the opposite of helping. This is sick. This is truly sick. Who's saying that? Let's see. Look what happened to Mike Lindell. Yeah, they did. They did poke the bear there, lovely Kimberly. 78% of the people are getting the virus were overweight. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not saying I wasn't enjoying some Hy-Vee cookies yesterday, but yeah, I better be careful. What you've been doing in this show could have been a basis for what you do on May 11th. Include Dr. Merritt and talk about the risks of getting the vaccine and vitamin D deficiency. I think a lot of people on the left should spend some time in some other countries first, then they can see what needs to be changed. This is true. You know, when Iran gets elected to the Women's Rights Commission in the United Nations, you know, we promise we'll whip fewer women for things. You know, podcasts are fun to listen to. The Compute This Family is always the highlight of our week. That's very true, lovely Kimberly. You know, that's why I came to you guys to ask what I should talk about, because you guys know me well enough to know that if you get me started down the wrong road, I'll go off the tracks, you know. On the other hand, you know, you guys know what I believe, and you know what I think. And you know that I try to be fair about things. You know, I have employees that still don't want to come back to work because they're terrified of COVID. They're terrified of it. They are literally afraid that they are going to catch it and die. What do you do with those people? They're good employees. They're working hard. I can't fire them. and there's nothing I can tell them to make them come back to work in the office, so they want to work from home. I feel trapped as an employer. I want people in the office. I want people who can collaborate, who can move fast, who can think fast, who are agile, who can interact quickly as a team to create amazing things fast for clients. You're just not fast when you're remote. It's just not fast. It's just not agile. Collaboration is a lot harder. This has all been documented factually. Projects that were in the hopper when COVID started were very easy to transition to a work from home situation. What we have found, what Microsoft has found, is new collaborative creative projects like a web design, for example, that are started with people working from home have a much tougher time getting off the ground. That's the reality of it. But I know these employees that I have, the media that they consume, and they'll say the media that I consume tells me not to be afraid, and the media they consume tells them to be afraid. Just for grins, go look at the Drudge Report. I mean, literally, you think that everyone in the world is dying of COVID right now. And yes, India is having a major, major problem with COVID right now. But that's India. You know, it's not happening here. Now, it was happening in China before it happened here. But now some people are turning around and saying, did it even happen here? And I'm not saying that COVID doesn't exist. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's just the flu, you know, whatever. But the thing is, there are people who are saying that because there's been so much lack of actual science, of science being trumped by fear and opinion, by fear-mongering from government agencies, fear-mongering from media outlets to get ratings, that people don't know who to believe anymore. So people are just afraid of all the time. And at some point, you just got to stop being afraid. You just can't be afraid all the time. You get exhausted. So you start taking antidepressants or something because you don't know why you're so tired and beat up all the time. And then you realize it's because you've been locked in a jail cell for a year, fed a constant stream of diet about what's going to happen to you if you walk out that door and how you're going to die and your children are going to die. And if you don't die, you're going to be the one responsible for killing somebody else. And now you just want it to go back to normal. And now they're telling you it's never going to go back to normal. We told you that in the beginning. We want to get back to normal. Get vaccinated so we can get back to normal. Now we're saying, well, even if you're vaccinated, you have to wear a mask. Even if you're vaccinated, you can still get COVID. Even if you're vaccinated, you can still die of COVID at about the same numbers that you were dying of COVID before. Because we can't let the fear go, because if we let the fear go, then we can't control the people, and we don't know that the pandemic is over. Look at what's happening in India. That could happen here. And if it does, we need to be able to tell people, see, we told you, don't come out of your house yet. But if we tell them, go ahead and come out, we think it's fine, we're never going to be able to convince them to go back in again. They're never going to go back into that jail cell again. And that was the problem with the messaging from the beginning. 2 weeks to slow the spread. 2 weeks to bend the curve. A month, 3 months, a year and a half. With vaccines and everything. You know, went to Hy-Vee yesterday, and I would say about 50% of the people in Hy-Vee and Papillion were, as they call it now, barefacers. That's right, you're a barefacer. There's no mask. My wife and I had our masks in our pocket. We went into Hy-Vee to get some groceries at the end of the evening. There was a family walking down the aisle with a 12-year-old kid maybe. They pulled him, you know, like when you're walking in a dark alley and there's like a junkie in the corner, you know, shooting up heroin or something awful like that, you know, you grab your children and you bring them a little closer as you walk past that. Come on, children, don't look, avert your eyes. They did that to the lovely Kimberly. Like, oh, she's not wearing a mask. She's not wearing a mask. Don't, you know, pull your mask tight, kids. Walk past. You know, what is wrong with people? What is wrong with people? Yeah. Ben Shapiro would be the best. I listen to him from Arizona, his show every day. Yeah, that would be a good show. I've never listened to Ben Shapiro. I should do that. I'm an Apple fan, but I like listening to Thor so I can figure out Windows computers still. I try to talk about Apple, okay? You know what? If it helps, I bought a brand new iPad this week that just got delivered yesterday for my daughter. Brand new iPad. So we are a blended household. We are, what do they call it? We're diverse. A computationally diverse household. We currently don't have any Linux members yet, but it's not because we're discriminatory. FreeBSD is fine. Brian in the Omaha Service Center is building me a 70 terahash FreeBSD server to put in my home so that I can farm my chai and store it somewhere. And now I will have every operating system. All right? We have Linux, we have iOS, we have Windows, all coexisting on the same network. All right. Remember the general election day. Remember that general election day is May 11th? Oh my goodness. See, I live in Papillion, so oh gosh. Scott put me on the air on election day. I bet he knew that. Oh goodness. Well, at least I'll have something to cover, right? That'll make it easier. Also, who wants to go on vacation to Portland, Oregon? This is true. Just tell the kids to hold their breath. Yeah, hold your breath, children. Let the Scarlet Woman go by. Scarlet Letter all over again, Keith says. Yep. I need to leave Linux. Is Linux abusing you, Aaron? Do you know that iOS is basically just Linux under the hood? It's Unix under the hood, which is a variety of Linux. And Thor, did you know Windows is just something that ran on top of DOS for a long time because it couldn't do it on its own? All right, guys, so it's been an hour and 17 minutes. So we're 1/4 of the way through a 4-hour show here. Or by the listeners' estimates, since Chris only got 30 minutes out of every hour to talk, I have now done 2.5 hours effective radio today. So I think I'll be able to go the full 4 hours. And you guys literally have helped me out a lot here. I now know that I will be able to find something to talk about, even if I just go on a rant for a while. And hopefully, I don't know if I'm going to webcam it or not. Should I webcam it? Like, should I do the whole setup with the webcam? I would probably not put it on the Schrock Facebook page. I'd probably put it on KFAB's Facebook page. We need Scott to help me do that because I don't have access to their Facebook page, obviously. But the reason I ask is if I have the webcam up and you see like that sheep hook come in from the side and hook me around the neck, then you know what happened. Without the webcam here, it could have just been like, and thank you for that, Mr. Schrock. Coming up next is the Josh Ogden Show. Because Thor's done. Have a great day. All right. So webcam. Okay, I'll see what Scott will let me do the webcam thing. I'll have to come up with a different background. I can't have to compute this. I'll have to make a KFAB background. Maybe like I could have Chris Baker like peek in. Too much? Yeah, too much. Okay. Just a little video. All right, do what you're doing now. Be yourself. Don't worry, you'll be fine. That's exactly what Scott said. All righty. Phone lying for you again? Oh, the stupid autocorrect. I was like, I don't get it, Keith. All right, sounds good, guys. All right, we're going to wrap it up here. Have a great week. Remember that you have today to get your maintenance certificates, and we're looking at, oh my gosh, and May 11th is the Windows thing too. So it's an election day. The listeners told me that the general election day is May 11th.
Really?
So Scott put me on the air on an election day.
Have fun.
The same day that we expect the Windows 10 update to come out.
It's going to be a great show.
Yeah, I think I'll find something to talk about. Something in there somewhere. All right, guys, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you helping me figure out that I can do this. I was a little nervous about it. I'm not so nervous about it anymore. I don't think I'll end my world or your world either, so that'll be good. I also don't think I'm going to get a full-time gig out of the deal, so hey, no risk, all upside, right? Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.